How exciting. Sometimes technology just blows my mind. So welcome, welcome,
or
welcome.
you could be amazing. It could be that you're amazing. That might be it.
And you know, just before we start, as I put the computer on to invite you, it said no internet. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So thank the universe for amazing things like, oh, wait a minute, I can see that we're not being shown live. Let me see. Okay. No, all is good.
All is good?
All is good. I'm just going to change the settings. Sorry, one more second for little issues around. Okay, I think it's fine. I'm going to share it on my page as well. And with that, all disturbances aside, welcome, welcome, welcome. Runa, and every time I practice the surname, Magnusdottir.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
Haines, it is such a joy, as always, to have you on a live call. And such a joy, as always, to be speaking about things that that I think the three of us believe in depth. And before I allow the two of you to present yourselves, because otherwise I'll just be talking on and on and on, I wanted to sort of say how I met you. My name is Revital Chitayat, for whoever doesn't meet me and doesn't know me. Today we're in a group of called OLCA, which is a group of business women who are focused on leadership, on excellence, run by Oli Kalmon. We'll talk about it later. And when I met you, I was exactly a year ago. And a mutual friend, Amir Galgao, which we all love, said to me, you know, two friends of mine are running this incredible thing called the money game, my words, and you really should try it. And since all of my work focuses around beliefs and working with limiting beliefs and discovering all sorts of paths, how to pay more attention, see them, heal them, and create a new story for ourselves, I thought, okay, this sounds interesting. And I entered the game of, it was called then the game of box. No, now it's the game of boxes.
Yeah,
the money box game.
Yeah.
And I think 3 days into the game, I knew that this was incredible because it put together everything that I love playing with. A game, which is always fun. People who are willing to step out of their comfort zone and play. Money, which is a big thing to address, and how wonderful to address it through a game. And beliefs. So it was an incredible opportunity to see how everything worked together. And I reached out to you. I said that I think this was going to work wonderfully in Hebrew in Israel. And lucky for me, both of you said yes. And here we are. For me, 2 games later, hundreds of people who've already gone through the big money game. And I would love for people to meet you. I would love for them to get an opportunity of hearing about you and the No More Boxes idea. And what I thought I'd like to ask when you introduce yourselves, because otherwise I'll just keep talking and talking, is to also address the question, because we're going to talk a little bit about boxes. If you can explain what it is and what was your most challenging box? What was the most challenging box that you came out of?
Go for it. Runa, would you like to go first, Runa, with this?
No.
Wouldn't. That's cool. That's good. As long as we're clear.
Yeah.
We're clear. That's good. So my name is Nicholas Haines. I'm a co-creator with Runa of the No More Boxes movement. I'm also a kindness ambassador. I run something called the 5 Institute. And in a very kind of similar way to the work, the kind of No More Boxes movement is really about us individually, how we feel about ourselves, and how we are collectively as a group, which is kind of the gist of our work. And the idea around boxes are that we stereotype people. We put people in boxes. Oh, you're like this, you do this work, so you're like this, or you come from this country, or you do, so therefore you're like this, or you have this religion, therefore you're like this. So we do this simple aspect about humanity, and then we make it bigger and bigger. So we say, oh, you're a nurse, so therefore you must be very caring. You're a teacher, you must always want to listen and help. And we get really shocked when there's a disruption with it.
Yeah.
And I'll just start out just very quickly with the darkest part of boxes. And the darkest part of boxes led to slavery. You are of this color, and therefore you will be my slave. The darkest part of boxes led to the Holocaust. So we had Holocaust Memorial Day yesterday, and it was ultimately created by boxes, by assumptions. Literature uses boxes. We use boxes within our jokes. We humiliate people, but ultimately they just kind of trap us. So the No More Boxes movement is just exploring the possibility, the suggestion that there might be a really stupid idea. It might be a great way to organize thoughts in our head, but they're not good for humanity for us to have them. So what if we explored and just said, look, these boxes exist. What if we had no boxes? What if we just were humans and we found different ways to identify? And they hold our belief systems. So the game is about breaking down lots of boxes. And money is a great box to start with.
It is.
Because great box to start with, because it gets our identity going, and it has lots of loaded stuff around it. You're poor, you're like this, you're this. So it's a great one to start.
Yeah.
That's it.
And yours, your particular box?
My particular box, mine was the dyslexic box. Really struggled to read, really struggled to write, really struggled all my life with it. And it was basically, it was used by my schools to humiliate me as a thing. So I was in that box. So then I couldn't write a book because I was dyslexic. I couldn't do this. And I got very anxious and stressed because, oh, people like me didn't write books, or people like me didn't. And very simple thing, I was told how stupid I was constantly. So yeah, dyslexic box and stupid box. That was a good one to escape, really. That was a big one for me. So I'm going to leave the talking box now.
Thank you.
Pass the Nick talks too much box, which is not a bad thing.
No, not a bad
I'm leaving
box
it.
at all. No, that reminds me that some boxes are actually quite good. Yeah, it makes us feel good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, some boxes are good.
Yeah. Well, my take on this, and just to give people a little insight into who is Runa. So I am.
I introduced you as a Viking, by the way.
See, you already boxed me.
I did.
Yeah. Now everyone has their own personal perception of who is Runa.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
How many people get to interview a Viking? I ask you.
Well, in this day and age, I don't think there are that many, come to think of it. Actually, Revital, why aren't people interviewing me more on that note? You know, because it's quite rare. Yeah. But saying that, when it comes to boxes, the deeper that I've gone into this process, and what Nick just explained wonderfully, how we use the boxes to understand the world, and it you know, we have left side of our brain and right side of our brain, and it's like everything is either yes or no, black and white, or men and women, and we're very wired to see the world that way, from the stereotypes, and it becomes all this either or. And when I think about it, yes, of course we need that. We need that in when we're a lion is hitting us, or we need to rely on our instincts for sure. I'm not going to take that away, but it is this when we start to believe in the narrative. And I've been thinking about, okay, it's the left brain and the right brain. What is in between? That's the heart, isn't it? So if we allow the heart to be there as well, and a coherence with the heart and the brain and the brain and the heart, and we allow our organs to be in a flow, and can we be more of who we were born to be?
Lovely.
Less conditioned by this left right. That's what I've been really drilling into on my journey, understanding the boxes and how they can be so utterly nice, like just the 3 boxes that we are in right now, and we're just having this conversation, and there's trust and there's all these things. It can also be the horrible thing, just like Nick said, and everything in between. So when we believe that women are one thing and men are another thing, we forget the rainbow of humanity. And we start to judge. We start to judge ourselves, we start to judge others according to that narrative. When we believe that there is just day and night, we're not living and experiencing the sunrise or the sunset, or how the spectrum of the day, when the sun is just coming out from a cloudy, raining cloud, and we see the sun there coming in, that's experiencing life and the fullness of a day. So the boxes are preventing us in so many ways to be more of who we were born to be, and where they are controlling us to be someone that I think, when I look at my own life, it has been a lot about who I think I should be or need to be. And in my case, it has been a lot about doing, my being in my doing box. I need to do things. I'm a human doer. I was a human doer, always needed to do things, and very occupied in that, which is for me really that directly linked to the gender box. Because I am a woman, I need to do things to be valued, seen, free to do, all of these things that I desire. And that was my blind spot, thinking I had to do. And then when I saw, the moment that I be that person and be a human being, there's a flow and more acceptance. And I not only start to accept myself more, I start to accept others.
I'm extremely familiar with that box. I have not completely, but I'm losing. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I've not completely released it, but I think there's something about releasing boxes, which often we need to get to a point of absurdity, to the point where the box actually becomes too tight, too small, too painful, too something, in order for us to, first of all, see it, because so many of the boxes are glass walls, glass ceiling, and quite comfortable. And it's only at the point where it becomes uncomfortable that we're willing to explore the possibility of emerging. And even then, I was talking to a client of mine today, and I said, one of her boxes is, I'm a failure box. And I showed to her, I said, there's a choice. At some point, when you become aware of it, there's a choice. You can have the failure, and with it, there come a lot of wonderful things. There's freedom, and there's quiet, and there's compassion. It's with pain. It'll always come with pain, but you're going to get that in this box. And then there's something beyond the box. what do you choose? And she said, I don't know. So it's not an easy choice. And I wonder, because we need meaning, and boxes give meaning. And I wonder how you, the vision of no more boxes. How do we navigate in that kind of world? How do we meaning making machines that we are? How do we survive when there are no more boxes?
Oh, it's such a good idea. Such a good question. Nick, I'm sure you have a really good answer.
I do, and it's a major mistake by Runa and myself. Okay, so when we decided on calling it the No More Boxes movement, the first part is to recognize that there are good, bad, and really ugly boxes, and it's the really ugly and bad boxes that cause the other ones. Good boxes, you can have communities and groups and clubs, and you all come together and you belong, and your family, they're absolutely fine. So what we really should have called the movement, the no more nasty, bad, ugly, horrible, disgusting boxes. However, do feel free to keep the ones that empower you, make you belong, and link us together as part of humanity. However, as a hashtag, that's slightly longer. So we went for no more boxes.
And don't forget, Nick, you're dyslexic. You would always write it in a different way. That would never have been the same hashtag anyway.
It would be absolutely all over the place. So I think the first thing that we do as human beings with the No More Boxes movement is just recognize there are boxes. And there are costs to those boxes. And do we really want to pay that cost? And as you say, we get trapped and then we get limited them. And then there are some really ugly. So let's just start by dealing with the really difficult ones and then challenge the perceptions we have of ourselves that actually stop, as Runa says, from us being ourselves or shining or doing our greatest work. So just the boxes, just let's get rid of the nasty ones and work on the ones that limit you. And we'll work on the new hashtag.
And when you say release them or get rid of them, how do we do that?
It is what we've seen, how you get rid of them. There are a couple of ways to do that, and really, I think it has to do a lot with how we see our world. So first of all, if you're listening to this and you think, oh my God, I don't want to get out of my box. I kind of like my box. It gives me all of these things that I've been striving for, and I don't want that. And just the thought of jumping out of it and leave it altogether just makes me afraid, and therefore I'm going to stick with it. If that's what comes up, then I think is a good way to think of it is okay, what if you can make it bigger?
Yeah.
What if you can expand your box so there is more oxygen that can come in, and you have more freshness of air that is coming in to breathe into your body, and then you can kind of like start to play there. Then if you are the type of a person that just have had absolutely enough of how everything is constraining you and you're not getting an inch out of anything, and you are ready, you're on that place in your life, you just want to move, then there is a way to do that. And that's where masters like Nick and I come in. And of course, I'm not going to give you that secret because you have to talk to us.
Yeah. And if you think about, many of us within this world are doing No More Boxes work. So when you were talking to your client, we're helping people with the perceptions, and Runa is absolutely right. Bringing oxygen, expanding is the simplest way to do it. There are more complicated ways, particularly if the box has been deeply entrenched in your unconscious thinking. Then there's things you need to do with that. But most boxes, I mean, the reality is, and here's the big secret, is boxes aren't real. We're talking as though they're real. They're not. They're just human constructs. So first you breathe and think, and then recognize they're just human constructs. However, they have been put in deep in our unconscious brains. So even if we rationally and intellectually know they're human constructs, and they're just made up, they're not real, they appear real to our unconscious mind. And that's where you need to do some work to release that. And that's why our unconscious biases are so difficult to get rid of, our prejudices, our things, because they're deeply entrenched in our unconscious thinking. But the easiest, but just simply start to expand them, grow, recognize that they're all made up, they're none of them real, have fun, play with them. And the game of boxes, the money box game, whatever we call it, is a great way to do it. Mm-hmm. It's a secret way in to deal with it, to change unconscious thinking habits, behavior.
So maybe we should talk a little bit about the game first, just to get an idea of what's possible when we decide to put some more air into the system and play and explore boxes in a completely roundabout way through playing and through the imagination.
Yeah.
So what is the game of boxes, or as I call it, the big money game? The big money game.
Yeah. Do you want me to explain, Runa, or do you want to?
Happy to.
You go for it.
Okay. I thought I was going to say I'm happy that you do, but I'm getting it. Yes. Okay. It's good that you're direct like me, Nick. It's about time.
I'm not direct, Runa, at all.
I know. I was just giving you a hint. Okay. So, okay, there are a couple of things that are coming up my mind when I want to explain what is really the game of boxes.
You're doing this really badly, Runa. Let me explain.
Okay, thank you.
Really, I was joking. Runa.
I knew I couldn't do this. Okay, Nick, can you just go for it just for a little while, and I'm going to think while I'm thinking.
No, you go for it. You go for it. That was a joke.
So, so the game of boxes, the whole idea is to play with the fact that our body makes no difference at all in the things that it has experienced before to what it can imagine. It brings up certain emotion in us. We start to vibrate in a certain way. And when we start to teach our body something that our body is not used to, in this case, used to having all the wealth that you can dream of, and for most people, a whole lot more than that, you are teaching your body how that feels like. And when your body becomes familiar with the feeling of how does it feel to be able to do that, and how does it feel to be able to accept that gracefully, gratefully, your body becomes that person. Because what we're used to when we're stuck in our boxes and habits and old rituals, we see the world that way, and that becomes our world. And we are so convinced because we surround ourselves with other like-minded people who say the same thing. And we're like, yep, that's how it is. And because I wasn't born rich, then I have no clue or no way to do anything different. So that becomes your box. But when you play the game, you are slowly, gradually, you're expanding, talking about expanding your box, giving it oxygen. And all of a sudden, like so many of our previous players have said, in the midst of the game, they're walking downtown, and they kind of go, wow, there's a big building. Hey, I could even buy that building if I wanted to. And never ever occurred to them before that would be even a possibility. And there they stand and they just look up and think, whoa, now how does that feel? And they go, well, I decide I'm not going to do that one today. And maybe I'll buy that one across. It's more my style. You have this, and your imagination just starts to grow. And what happened? You start to vibrate in a totally new way.
Yeah.
And as you're vibrating in a totally new way, that's the thing that come to you, because karma will always give you what you send out. And that is how the law of attraction and law of karma and law of basically everything is going to give you that back. So playing the game for 21 days is helping you to teach your body the feeling of being the person that you can be.
Yeah.
And it's that was beautiful, Runa. That was a really beautiful description. There's also, I think, a really important point in that the game is designed to make it easy to move into that place. Because imagine if we suddenly jumped into that body, it would be like a shock. We wouldn't be who we are.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to feel normal, likes to feel themselves. Otherwise we get anxious. So what we did was the idea for the game was Runa's idea. So it's her brilliance. But what did with the design of the game is played over 21 days. On the first day, we give you just a small amount of money. So you're doing it in shekels. I'm not sure how much you're doing to start.
We do it in dollars.
You do it in dollars, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So we start with $100, $10, $100. So you start with a small amount of money. Say $100 the first day. Second day, you double it, $200. Third day, you double it, $400. Then $800. And then it just starts doubling and doubling. And as we know, when things double, but there's a gentle easing out. What will I spend this $100 on? I might have a massage. Then you're doing that. But suddenly, really quickly, you're saying, okay, I'm going to pay off my mortgage. I'm going to get rid of car. I'm going to buy some cars. I'm going to buy a holiday home. And then you start to move into this thing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to set up a school. I'm going to set up an education institute. I'm going to do this. And everybody in the group all moves together through this, as Runa beautifully said, this bodily based experience.
Yeah.
And people start, well, I don't want to give too much away because there is utter magic that happens. So my suggestion is play the game and be amazed, surprised. It is just the gentlest, most beautiful way to open up these deep-seated beliefs within and one of the things that because we kind of watch the games as they're being playing, and one of the things that you do most beautifully with it is you just create this really safe, loving, fun environment, community where people can just finally be themselves with other people that are enjoying being incredibly wealthy and expansive, and you get ideas. And you host that so beautifully.
Absolutely.
And we cannot tell you the amount of people that this game has utterly transformed their lives, their relationship with money, their relationship with their partner, their relationship with work. There's magic stuff that happens, like someone got their mortgage paid off, someone got this paid off. Someone always joins the game. They say, I want to join the game because I just get more and more clients. That's how I get my clients each time I play the game. And other people just rewire their thinking, heal their relationships, get to know their partner. I got to know my kids in an incredible way when they played it with me. Got to know it's just breathtaking as a game, breathtaking. And it takes I have to say, and you'll know this, Rivital, because we've talked about this, for us that's hosting the game, it actually takes quite a lot of energy, doesn't it?
Yes.
For us to do it, to host it, to hold that space, to do it. We put it's a lot of energy for us to do it. We love it, but it's a lot of energy for us to do it, which is why Runa, we only play it twice a year, because it takes a lot to do, but the change is transformational. So I would encourage people listening to that, if they have the opportunity to play the game with you in their native tongue, which is where our belief systems were formed, in the language of our childhood. So brilliant, you're playing it. If they get the chance to play with you in this game, grab it. Absolutely grab it, because it does, you can't play it, you can't keep playing it month after month after month. There has to be a
No.
break in between for you to get a rest. And also, I do a lot of work with looking at the energies of each year. This year has a very, very, very important thing about us fulfilling destiny and moving forward and grabbing things. And it starts, it's really, really important. It is, I can't express how important, but it's a year where we get to really step in and explore our destiny, to do what we're here to do, to really do that. The last 2 years have been letting go of things to create the space to move forward. So to play the game at the beginning of this year, to set the scene, to get rid of the stuff that holds you back, to break out the boxes, I can't think of a better time to play it. I absolutely cannot think of a better time to play it.
You
For
gave
either
me
us
chills
individually,
now.
either us individually or for humanity as a whole. So yeah, just grab the opportunity, the listeners, grab the opportunity to play the game with you.
So first of all, thank you. You know, and I'd also like to say that the English version, playing it with both of you, happens in March. So we've got something going, ongoing, and it's such a treat. I mean, that's how I met and fell in love with the both of you. You know, when I was thinking about this game, because when I describe it, sometimes I listen to myself and I think, this is so silly. I mean, it's to describe it is, you know, you've got the inner skeptic in your head going, this is what? They're giving out money every day. So what's the big story? And over the last year, it's something that I said before, but over the last year, both, you know, with the privilege of playing in the game that you both hosted, and then later watching the beliefs come up when I was working in the games. Even though our mind tells us that we want money, even though we think and we torture ourselves about how we want more, we deserve more, we should have more, criticizing where we are, our situation right now, and why are they succeeding and I'm not. The truth is that our limiting beliefs, our boxes, are so dense and so present that there is actually no way to generate more money, to attract more money, because it doesn't fit in the box.
No
and
oxygen.
Something about this game allows me to be there, to physically feel what my belief feels like. So if my belief is I don't deserve more, if my belief is spiritual people or good people or kind people or people with values shouldn't have a lot of money, if my belief works around the fact that artists or heart-centered people should focus on what they love, and the fact that they do what they love is more than enough. If my belief is around, this is my personal.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's a huge paradigm. It's a huge paradigm for everybody in the soft fields. You know, I love what I do, and that's enough. If my beliefs are around the fact that rich people are shallow, superficial, stupid, controlling, wicked, evil, etc., 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 I can know in my head that I want money, but it can't stick. It can't magnetize itself, and it doesn't matter if I'm overdraft or if I'm already earning tens of thousands of shekels or dollars. There will be that glass ceiling, because that's where the belief sits. That's where the box closes itself tight, and we can't attract anymore. And there's something about this game which is, wait a minute, let's pretend you have $10 million. What does it feel like? And all of a sudden you feel, and it doesn't feel so bad. And all of a sudden you realize that you, being a millionaire, aren't evil or superficial or wicked. And suddenly there's the opportunity to do all sorts of things with the money that you never even imagined.
Mhm.
And there's something in that flexibility, in that movement, which creates a shift that much deeper, much more profound inner work can't create in that split second when I go, oh, I just saved a country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And think about the intention that you're putting out there. And that's one thing that we've seen as the group is playing, and the group might be one member. I remember in our game, one member started a fund called the Money Tree Fund, and had a very clear description of what the fund was all about and what was the purpose of it and what was supposed to do and how it worked and all of that. And then people started to put some of their investments into that fund. And you think of energetically the intent.
Yeah.
So knowing that intention are being used worldwide, whether that is through prayers or through intention groups or through any other measures, we know it matters. We know it's scientifically proven. We could go deeper on this process and really see, okay, so what do we really want to blossom from that investment? So the Money Tree Fund, what do we all collectively want to envision will happen with that fund that we have then collectively created, and at the end of the game? That could be one way of even putting an intention or something that's supposed to happen in the world, and then we see it in the news next week. How about that?
Mhm.
So there are so many possibilities that you can do with playing this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you play the game and then we play it a month later. So we've got a collection of hundreds and hundreds of people joining together with, as Runa says, an intention to make a difference. And so it's the collective experience of an individual within the game, but there's also the collection of the games.
Yeah.
And our vision is actually that around the world we have constant money box games, game of boxes being played around the world with a collection and intention that actually, because one of the games we had about 10 people that got together and say, actually, what we'd really like to do together is to actually look at the issue of water-based poverty in the world. And that was one of the games when we went up to like 5 billion. And we had 50 billion people that sat down and worked out to look at water poverty in the world as an energetic collection. Then other people started joining in, and like we had the Money Tree. But imagine if all these games were being played repeatedly around the world, with everyone rising their vibrational state around what they wanted to do. And money gets to be irrelevant within the thing. And you say, and our stuff around just gets to be absolutely irrelevant.
Yes.
And just say, actually, give me more money. People just said, I cannot wait till we get to the billions, or we cannot wait till we get to the millions. 100,000, 500 paying off more, it's fine, but let's get to, but is that collective vibrational state?
It's an interesting thing, because I think why I became a junkie for this game is because I'm looking for the word. It's more than love. I have a heart expansion from genuine generosity. Generosity really, really amazes me, leaves me in awe. It's a human frequency, a human vibration that amazes me, that melts my heart. And over again, I watch how a group of people that have nothing in common, in Israel, ultimately you start making the connections, but even then, it's a group of people who, at some point, whether it's in the thousands, hundred thousands, millions of dollars, at some point, our survival is safe. At some point, all our debts are covered, everyone's taken care of. We've handed out money to all our loved ones. We've bought the cars and we've bought the houses and we bought something there just goes quiet. And from there, people become unbelievably generous. And that experience, watching that happen, watching that shift over and over again of how in our truest nature, when we don't feel like the lion is chasing us or the bank is running after us, when we know that all things have been addressed, we are really, really generous. And over and over again, I watch people, discover what their dreams are, what their interests are, what their goals are. Some of them very conscious, and some of them so unconscious, so dormant and almost invisible. And suddenly, when the option of money, imaginary, non-existent money, but when that option of abundance becomes real because you play with it, and I treat it 100% real. It's, what are you going to do with your money? The dreams come alive, and suddenly the order of preference, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Do you need partners? What color, what size, what shape, how big? Even that becomes real. So it's not just the abundance and that feeling of, it's every day, it just keeps coming. And but suddenly I have room for my dreams, for making things come true in my life, which is quite extraordinary. Because as you were giving examples, I wrote a post the other day. I didn't name names, but I collected just from little stories, things that happened to people. And this is random because I didn't even go to the effort of trying to find out. This is just what people told me that happened from the game. And I'm not talking about the cars and somebody had a dream of buying a new car with the still completely with the nylons on the seats, and having it on her name. And that happened. And somebody and a couple bought a house because they realized how they were imagining the house over and over again across their dinner table, and suddenly it was like, okay, well, why don't we just do it? Somebody, you were talking about destiny. A woman called me and said, she played twice, and she said, you have no idea. Suddenly something clicked, and my purpose became crystal clear. So I don't like making promises because it's a game. But the fact is, prepare to be surprised with the potential of what might happen when you allow yourself to play with the imagination.
And so that's true. Allowing yourself to play with your imagination. And you can do that. I've seen playing that again and again has allowed me to experience how does it feel to accept the money, just accepting it, just going deep into, wow, I'm accepting $1 million today.
Effortlessly. I didn't have to work for it. I don't have to do anything.
And I'm just accepting it, just and then what if when you can, even when going into when Nick and I were playing last time, we decided to be just in the giving mode, just giving, and that feeling of, wow, I gave. Well, I don't remember how many trillions of dollars we gave that game, and it's become, wow, I am so generous.
Yes.
And the feeling of, for me, it was a big thing to feel that being that person that can give all of that wealth away from me with no attachment.
Yes.
With nothing, you have to do this for me instead. Just effortlessly giving. And that was a big one for me. I know it wasn't for Nick because he's always giving, but you see, that's the difference of me and Nick. I never give anything. He's always giving. So it's more for him to, I mean, it's just, it is what it is, you can't deal with it.
Well, for me, I have to say it was a little bit more practical when what happened with the last game we were playing. I kind of get a little bit kind of stress-based eczema around my neck and in my head, and a bit on my hands as well. It's a kind of had it since a child. It's a stressed response of eczema and stuff, scratchy. What I love about the game is I play the game and the eczema goes.
Wow.
Just goes. I start to sleep better, and I'm just, yeah, the eczema goes. And then after about, and it never comes back as strong as it did again.
Amazing.
But because I'm watching my behavior, but which kind of why I personally quite like to play the game every 6 months. It's an awful lot better and cheaper than steroids. So, much better, much better for me, and a lot less itchy. So I'm just very, very practical. And I know people who play the game and privately talk to me and say, look, I play it. They play it because they're like their irritable bowel, their guts, their immune system just kind of calms down, because our imagination doesn't, and our bodies do not know the difference between real and imagined. So my immune response and my stress just goes, oh, that's okay. It's all sorted, you're safe, everything's fine. You can have the freedom and the security to do and buy anything you want. And I think so for me, that's a really, really important thing. And I think there is also something that is really, really important on the our deep level and sense of security.
Yeah.
And I know that my parents had some really tough stuff about money financially and stuff. And I know that's come through to me, and it's in my field because I inherited it. And we know that epigenetically we inherit the stuff from multiple generations that go back. So if you were in a position, as we were, where there was danger and lack of security and something was going to happen, we kind of got over agitated as a thing. And I know it changed that. It changed my history.
Amazing.
Changed my history, because I know it has, because I see the world differently than I did before.
And it's like the belief ends with you. You don't have to pass it on.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do think, I go a bit weird, but I do think you also healed generations before.
Yeah.
And I know, having played it with my kids are different. So there is a separation in time that we're shifting, we're healing, cultural danger, money thing. There's lots of layers to this. But to be honest, I'm happy with just the eczema going.
Wow, that's such a good story.
Yeah.
So for me, and I'm eternally grateful to the two of you. For me, money was about standing out. Money creates focus, like other things, and one of my beliefs was it's dangerous to be too seen, too out there, too center stage. So better to tone it down a little, and toning down both in the money aspect and the influence aspect. It was always just keep it safe. And it was very, very interesting to go through becoming very, very rich and having to just breathe through it. And that had an incredible and weird impact on my readiness to show up more and more. And I'm using this to sort of allow us to touch a tiny bit on the woman box, because this game is for women. And I think that, I don't know if it's a gender issue, but I think it might be a little more related to women, that toning down, not standing out, not too much. And, I wonder if there's something for you to say about that, as I'm going to turn down the heater because it's just too much.
The woman box. If you were raised with the idea that you needed someone else to take care of you financially, or you were raised with the idea that you needed for you to survive as a woman in this world. You needed to get a great education, work really hard at it, do everything, be beautiful at the same time, have a great selfie on and Insta and Facebook and everywhere, and have the 3 kids and work like your ass off. If you were raised that way, that was what you need to do to survive as a woman, then most likely you have an issue around that. And just if you take as an example, if you were raised, even you were raised with parents that were very empowering and very, always telling you can do it, you are independent, all of those things. There might have been just a slightest thing somewhere down the line, even a movie that you watched, where you saw a woman being told that, she needed to be, a man needed to take care of her because she was a woman and she was not safe and all of these things. In comes a program. And so I don't think the main issue is to find what it was, unless you really want to dig. You can do that with all sorts of tools and things, but it's just to go back and maybe when you come up with these things, like these judgmental things, like you were saying, before, about rich people are this and that, where does that come from? Why do I believe that rich people are boring? That was my belief, by the way. Why are rich people boring? I thought, where does that come from? And that comes from somewhere. But the moment that I was aware that it was just a belief that I had somehow taken in and believed was the truth, then the second thing, which is the next most important thing once you are aware, is to do something about it.
Yeah.
And in my case, when I saw that, number one, I laughed, because what? No wonder money has not been flowing my way, because I kind of like to be with people that are fun. I kind of like to be the person that is fun. I know I haven't been fun this time, but generally, I would say in most cases, yeah. Well, that's sidetrack. But then saying that people who are rich are not fun. Can you imagine what my whole system is saying? I do not want to be rich. Holy moly! If I become rich, I will be boring. So it's against who I am.
Yeah.
So if that is something as a woman you were raised to, and the same thing, here's another thing that I actually want to point out just as well, because of the nature of this question. The same thing goes with if you are born as a man and you were raised and you believe that you are the provider.
Yeah.
That you have to do all these things. That if you don't do it, you are not man enough. If that's the thing, and then you are living with a woman that was raised up with with being very independent and all of that, can you see the clash? It's going to clash. And so if we decided that we're going to live by the stereotypical gender box, well, number one, don't call me. I just don't want to be with you. Number two, decide to love it and just be happy with it. And then when you are happy with that, please stop complaining, because you made your choice. You're going to be there. So the gender box and money, you can see it from so many angles. The main thing is, and that is one thing that I have felt that the game of boxes has really been a good tool to use, is a tool to open up for the conversation about the issue or the things that were never talked about.
Yeah.
In a fun, easy, flowing way of a game. And that there doesn't matter whatever gender you choose to be, and because we have to remember there are more than two now.
True. You know, I remember I think it was the first game when you were sending me every day. We send a daily post, and in the first game, I had quite a few religious people in the group, and I wrote to you and I said, Runa, please, can we tone down the pictures of women because they can't be too much. And you, thinking that I'm just having a moment, wrote, no, but whoever has a problem with it must get on with it. And it's interesting to see our collective box in Israel, where the role of women to start with is different. It amazed you that it would be natural here, but as I explained to you, there are places where you don't see pictures, or you learn to exist in a particular way. I'm quite excited about this time because there's something about a circle of women, and Nick, I apologize to be making this gender.
You know that Nick is the woman in this group.
He's very connected to his that's why I don't feel too bad to his feminine
No,
side,
actually, you should have asked Nick this question firsthand, because when Nick and I go in any of the events that we do, people actually do point this out, and I don't think, at least I don't take it personally. I know it's the fact.
I think it's to do with my slight weight problem, my breasts, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
however,
are you up to cut B now, or are you still in A?
Oh, I've been a double D for years.
Double D, yeah.
But Rivital, there is actually just the very nature, the very kind of nature of that conversation, as Runa was saying, the very notion of masculine and feminine energy. It was originally decided to have masculine and feminine energy in ancient China, and it was designed to suppress women. It was then taken up by Carl Jung and lots of psychologists, and it was the idea of a separation of behavior based around gender, or a separation of values based around gender, was a human construct that then becomes so real we think it's real, but it is just a human construct. And to be honest, it was a human construct by people in authority, mainly men, that really served them. So if you just look at a classic example, when they came back from the war, the Second World War, the Americans came back from the war, they had a massive problem that women had been working in factories and doing stuff like that. So what they did was they reinvented the American dream of the little woman in the house and the family and the caring and nurturing, because women are more caring. So, and we're going to make that lovely experience, and men are more going out and fighting, and we're going to think, so that generate that construction. And it was over 5,000 years in ancient China, they did the same thing. They gave masculine and feminine qualities to the energies and said, women are more caring, men are more this. And they did it to suppress women, to create a hierarchy. Men, because it was above is heaven, earth, below is earth. Men are above, women are below. Men have messages from God, women accept the message, above and below. And it's all been a construct. Now, to break that down means we've then got to go against some of our faiths, our religions, our behaviors, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually think and you look at the research on testosterone, for example, which is it's a male hormone, and it's all about aggression and stuff like that. It isn't about that. What testosterone does is it raises our desire to have status. If your community, if the status is who's the most gung-ho, aggressive and stuff, and you give them testosterone, they will get more fighty, gung-ho and aggressive.
Interesting.
However, if you gave Buddhist monks, whose hierarchy is based on who is the most loving, peaceful, and meditates the most, when you give them testosterone, they all start meditating more and being more loving and kind.
Wow.
in an auction, when there's an auction around generosity and giving and kindness and stuff like that, you give people testosterone. This has been done in studies. You give people testosterone, they start giving more and being more generous and being more kind. So your testosterone is a reflection of your society. And we both have testosterone in us. And you could say, oh, well, the female hormones of estrogen and oxytocin, they're loving and they're caring, they're warm and create communities. If someone, when my wife was full of oxytocin when the babies had been born, if anyone had tried to touch one of the babies, she'd have ripped their head off. Because she was full of oxytocin. So, oh, oxytocin makes you aggressive. No, it's context. So testosterone, oxytocin, estrogen, they're all context-based, and the context is based on the human construct that we've done. So I actually think it's a wonderful idea to play with a group of women.
I know.
Not because they are a group of women and they all have the same energy and stuff like that. It's because there are a diverse community that needs to unpack some of their stuff.
Yes.
So it's a really good idea to unpack your stuff within the box that you were all put in, remembering it's all made up. So I'm 100% with that, because it creates more safety to unpack it in the box in which you were all put. And that's fine. And it is really difficult for people to understand the masculine and feminine energy idea is a society construct.
Yeah.
Because we just see the evidence that exists. Well, men in testosterone, the men in testosterone that are aggressive, that's because the cultures that they brought up in, the hierarchy is based around aggression. Buddhist monks is based around kindness. Same people, give them testosterone, they just behave the way the culture expects them to behave. And the idea of propagating this idea of masculine and feminine energy just propagates the idea that we have to behave in a certain way. And look at wars, look at stuff. It's culturally created.
You know, as you're talking now, I suddenly am thinking how money, in a way, is almost, you know, on that level, almost like a hormonal reaction.
Absolutely.
And it's traditionally very masculine energy. And there's something about playing with money, playing with a group of women that allows money itself to transform its frequency, to allow money itself to appear differently. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I would really encourage people to do is play the game with your friends, with your community. So if you got girlfriends, friends you want to be with, or sisters or mothers or parents, bring them all along, play it together. Because I have to say, playing with my sons was a very amazing experience. So if you're in this group and you've already joined, just bring more and more people in, because it will get a richer and richer experience. And if you have like a community like we're talking to at the moment, the more of that community comes together, then we end up with a fundamental bonding experience within that community. It changes that community. So I would encourage everybody to get in the game, because that's where your personal change will happen, and that's where the collective change will happen, and that's when the power of your organization, of your group, will move somewhere different. And as I said, this is the year we have to start stepping up into that. So just get the whole group playing, bribe them, grab them in, just get them all collectively.
I agree.
Got to do it. Sorry, I get very passionate.
No, I do too. I always tell people at the end, I say, you know, we had the rare opportunity of meeting each other on the basis of our dreams. Yes. And how often do you actually have that? To not necessarily know what the person does, who their family is, who their ties is, who they know, but what they dream. And it's a very intimate, very special connection.
Yeah. And we get seen for who we really are.
Yeah. I could keep going on and on and on, but I think we need to keep the rest for our next meeting. As always, I love meeting you. I love hearing more and more about the concept of boxes and and the potential change that we can bring about by, I don't know, getting rid of them, melting them, releasing them, whatever it is. So I want to thank the both of you. I want to thank Oli, who started this community and who has created this partnership with me around doing a group for women, and whoever joined us, whoever will see this later on. And such a joy. So we're starting Women in Hebrew in February, another international game in March. So many opportunities to start playing with money, playing with beliefs, playing with boxes. And I raise my glass to a year of claiming our destiny.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. And have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.